Charles Cole, founder, executive director of Energy Converters. My connection to black education in Oakland, it's on a few different fronts. I was a student in Oakland schools for a long time. Didn't have the best experience academically speaking. I've been around Oakland schools professionally and black folks professionally. So started my career as a social worker, working with a lot of black kids and families that were in Oakland schools and doing a lot of work around special education, doing IEP work and things of that nature. Then I went into working more directly in the education and worked to get young kids in and through college. And I was specifically focused on low-income kids of color in San Francisco and in OUSD. Eventually worked in the district office, in the superintendent's office, doing communications and community engagement. And then went off and started my own organization that's focused on kids out of Oakland Unified School District around, lifting their voice to improve the system that we're part of. So it's a few different angles that kind of brings me in with black folks in Oakland. As a student, I think just being around the area, like we got a lot of people go pro in sports. We always had really good sports. So I played basketball. I actually went to high school outside of Oakland, but I was on a border. But I watched all those, like I played against all those people. We all grew up playing together and just watching like folks from my neighborhood and from these neighborhoods in the NBA and winning championships and stuff like that. So that was one of my favorite moments is that, you know, anytime you with another big city like LA or New York, you get to brag on your professional athletes versus theirs. So I think the state of black education for educators is in a precarious spot. I think that reports show that less than 2% of all teachers are black men, and we live in a time and in a district where I've watched good black men educators like get pink slips and get asked to not come back without having the opportunity to grow, to build, and all that good stuff. I think as far as education is concerned, I think since desegregation, it hasn't really been a huge space for black educators in the way that it used to be, just looking at the numbers. But I think Oakland makes it even harder because it just costs so much to live here. And the talent that you are getting here, like the young black talent or even middle-aged, older talent, whatever, they are going into different fields. They're going into tech, they're going into healthcare, like things that actually pay. And so I think just living, I'm going to start there, just on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like that first block of just being able to take care of yourself is really tough. And I think just our outcomes, look the same as they look everywhere else, where black and brown males and females that just tend to be at the bottom of the barrel as far as achievement is concerned. We're not getting the type of gains that we want to see. Although we are making gains. Like when you pull up the numbers, like I do like to like really wrestle with what the facts are. But it's still really, really low from what our standard is. So I think that those are just two main sticking points of the issues of the state of black education for educators. But that's from my very my personal experience in that vein. I think the state of education for black students, I think it's I think it's sad, man. I think it's sad at times just because there are so many parents and families and children that have to depend on this system. And in having to depend on this system, man, it's the only thing it's consistently done is consistently fail us. And I think that part, I just want to take a moment with it because the consequences when you fail in black kids as far as education is concerned is like the consequences are so much more drastic. Like our kids end up shot, they end up dead, they end up in jail. And I know that there's a turning point in the country right now, right? Where a lot of like richer white folks is telling you that you don't need college and that education isn't as important as it used to be. And I think that there's there's some truth in that if you have 5 or 6 generations of wealth and your parents can afford to send you to Germany for a gap year while you figure it out, and you got essentially safety nets under you. I think for me, it really, like, college saved me from just the type of life that I just didn't want to live. Like, I look at my parents now who both worked really, really hard. You know what I mean? They worked really hard to essentially have nothing, and like, I just didn't want that for my life. And I could see how a kid could, like, say, you know what, like, buck all this, like, I'm about to go and, like, make money a different type of way. And those ways normally start out being illegal until white folks decide that they want to make it legal. For example, pirating music was, like, super illegal until, until Apple and iTunes decided to make it a business. Marijuana was illegal, and there's a lot of people that's in jail behind that. And my parents both went to jail around that stuff. And people are now making millions and millions of dollars on it. So the consequences for us end up being, we innovate in an illegal way, and then white folks with a lot of power find ways to make those things legal and make millions of dollars off of it, and we still rot away in jails and in poverty. So when I look at the state of black education, I'm looking at it from that lens of, like, what is actually happening to us when these schools are failing. I think the state of black education for families is pretty much in line with what I said about students and educators. I think that I don't even want to give a generic answer about families. I'll just talk about mine. I'm the first person in my family in a long list of those people, from cousins to siblings to uncles, cousins, or whatnot, that actually went to college. Like, whatever little success I had, I don't make a whole gang of money or whatever the case is, right? But, like, my academic success has impacted and rippled through my entire family. Like, it's changed trajectories for certain folks, right? Like, being able to be there for my parents, to help them buy and purchase a home, like, being able to start a business and then, go through these different type of jobs and these levels of professionalism that allows me to help out my family in different ways, not just with money, but with information and with access. And right now, on the whole, if you randomly take somebody, a black family in Oakland, that goes to some of these failing schools, statistically, you will not find our education system helping out our families. As a matter of fact, it's hindering, right? In a lot of cases, it's causing them more stress. We asking parents to be at the school 2 and 3 times a week because we need parent engagement. Like, we trying to get the poorest, most downtrodden families to, like, do the work that districts are supposed to do. And it's just something that's just off to me about that. So what Energy Converters does, the company that I started and founded, we're utilizing student voice because I have this belief that the folks most impacted have to be the leaders of their liberation. And I know that might sound huge and grandiose, but education is one of those industries where we are just not consumed with the end user experience in the way that we should be. I wear an Apple Watch and I have an iPhone, and I'm always constantly getting bombarded with how am I experiencing those products, what needs to change. Like, I'm a beta tester, right? Like, we've pushed that company to do certain things, right? And you can say that about other companies. Education is one of the industries where it would behoove us to know exactly how somebody is like experiencing our product, and we just are not seeking that information. So that's one. The other thing that we try to do is not only have those young people lead and do systems change and advocacy work, but we want to build agency with those young people. Agency is just it's a skill that doesn't outright get taught. And when you have agency, I believe that somebody with agency, you can drop them in almost any type of environment or circumstance, and they'll figure out a way to get the things that they need. So that's why we started Energy Converters. And that's why we started with Student Voice. Student Voice isn't the only wave that Energy Converters is having. It's just the first one. Because if I truly believe that the people at the bottom have to lead their own, to their own freedom, then I look at all those groups, and those groups include students, but it also includes their parents and families, and it includes community leaders. And what is the platform and the support system that they have to where they don't have to be dependent on a system that has failed them over and over and over and over again. And the example that I like to give, it's not the best example, but I like this example, so I'm going to give this example. The example that I like to give is it's a refrigerator in your house and you got kids and your kids need milk. And that refrigerator is broken, but you keep putting milk in that refrigerator and then being confused as to why your kid is sick. Like, we killing ourselves because we don't have the things that we need or the tools that we need. We're staying dependent on something that is continuously failing us. So I'm not saying we need to abolish schools or whatever the case is. What I'm saying is I want to build up enough agency and resistance in my students, in their families, in the community leaders that they have the self-agency and the skills to go out and change the things that they need to change so they can be successful.
And specific to the state of black education in Oakland, why is that important?
I think that's important when you talk about the state of black education, where the majority of my students are black students. They're going through a lot of stuff, man, in schools where you get skills like life skills and stuff like that. Like, we've stepped away from that. So our students are asking, man, they're saying, look, my family is poor. I want to learn how to make money. I want to understand banks more. Can I learn about stocks and bonds? Like, I don't know anything about that. Like, entrepreneurship is big right now. Can we do some stuff where I'm learning, where we're at least having that conversation? The other thing is I think schools are often detached from what's happening with students in their communities and with and inside their family units. Like we just said, that a lot of these teachers are not black. A lot of these teachers don't come from that community. So we have students writing about their lights being off. We got students writing about people getting shot in front of them and having to deal with that. We got students that's writing about like the pothole that like ruined their mom's car and they don't have any money to fix that, and that just threw a huge monkey wrench in their life, you know? And then we also have students telling us, your class is boring. And it's not that I don't want to learn about history or math or these things, but you're not even dope enough in your own practice to apply it to my life, you know? Like, your passion ain't even shining through. So we have students giving real feedback and offering real suggestions, right? Like, I want to be clear. I know some stuff is going to get edited. So I want to make sure that this part gets in there in some kind of way. Like, our students are not just complaining and writing their stories out. It's not just that. We start with their experience, but then they do a huge amount of research where they see themselves in the research, but they bring facts. The one thing that we talk about with our fellows is everybody's entitled to their opinions. You are not entitled to your own facts. And then they take those facts and they make recommendations based off of the research that they did. And so our fellows are gaining research skills that they're not getting in school. Because when I started college and I had to do my first research project and I went to AP classes and graduated with a high GPA, I didn't know what they were talking about, you know? So we're just trying to make sure our young people got the tools they need to be successful. What's promising or inspiring about the state of black education in Oakland? The people, the young people. I mean, our young people are just dope, man. And like, Oakland just is good for breeding creativity and talent and resilience. So, I mean, that's the biggest hope. Like, there's not a policy or a staff person or whatever that's like, oh, this is giving me hope like that. It's just it's the human spirit and the way in which black people fight and bust through. You know, it kind of even makes us more creative and we flex our ingenuity different. So that's what I'm most excited about, is what these young people are going to end up doing. I am connected to a lot of folks that's doing some good work, and it's a lot of people working really hard. I don't know if we built the right synergy. Like, I don't know if we've been able to coalesce and come together and be focused enough on 2 or 3 big things and like put our collective efforts to move that thing forward. I think it's a lot of different people in a lot of different places, and as a result, our wheels just spin. And that's kind of sad to say, because everybody's kind of on their own way for whatever reason. You know, people got to survive too. But I don't know, man. I'm just, I know in these video series, like, we're supposed to have like good answers and stuff that leads the way, man. But as somebody who has been a bunch of different things in this space, a student in this space, a social worker in this space, working in schools in this space, working at the district level, now working as an entrepreneur in this space, we have never been able to coalesce long enough, consistently enough, to where we really make that move forward that like sticks. And I know somebody might be watching this and they might nitpick and say, well, we did this and we got this and this and we got that, but I'm talking about real collective action. When I look at certain movements, man, like not even just a civil rights movement, I'll bring it more to the future. When I look at when gay folks, fought for their rights and how they like took some big losses, but then they kind of coalesced. And if you messed with one of them or said something crazy, they was getting you out of here. And now laws are changed. I'm talking about and like I said earlier, like these cannabis people, right? That's like, we tired of this being illegal. And then those folks like really came together on like with a real agenda, and they are making millions and millions of dollars here in Oakland. They ain't sharing it with black people, but they making millions and millions of dollars here in Oakland. Like, I'm talking about like real collective action where we build something and we don't just do it on accident. I think that's tough. I think that we have to reconcile stuff amongst the generations. I think like the beef that OGs might have with younger folks and the people in the middle. I remember kind of being shut out of stuff when I was younger, trying to step into things, and and we believe in tradition so much that I see 30-something-year-old entrepreneurs that's super talented that have no love for like older organizations for a variety of reasons, right? While I also see them making the same mistake with people that's coming up behind them. So I guess the bigger question is, how do you bring us together as black people to like really work together towards one vision? I don't know, man. That's a head scratcher. But I think you keep trying, I think we're continuing to try. And I think that this Sobio platform, where there is no head, there is no it's not a true organization per se, but a space and a platform for people to come together and wrestle through these ideas and potentially build a way forward. I think that's the first step. So I pray and I have faith, but I think having this platform that people can take advantage of is a good first step. My name is Charles Cole, and this has been the Sobio Narrative Series.